I hope that you are well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today we'll be doing our grade 8 English lesson on phrases and clauses. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once you've logged on to aplusstudents.ca, with our username as well as our password, then we're going to select the subject of language arts grade 8, and then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of phrases and clauses. All right. So our chapter is phrases and clauses. Our subject is English language arts, grade 8. And our lessons is going to be to is it a phrase or a clause? And we're going to have to identify prepositional phrases, right? There's going to be set 1 as well as set 2, identifying prepositional phrases. All right. So the question is it a phrase or is it a clause, right? So a clause, it's a group of words that contains both a subject as well as a predicate, right? So a clause is a group of words that contains both a subject as well as a predicate, right? And a clause can function as a complete sentence or combined with other clauses can form compound or complex sentences, right? Then we get independent clauses, dependent clauses, right? And that is where the compound and complex sentences come in. For example, Samantha grew up in a bilingual family, so she can speak 2 languages fluently, right? That is a compound sentence. So in this case, the clause has a subject, right, which is she, and the predicate can speak 2 languages fluently, right? So the clause is she, which is our subject, and a predicate, which is can speak 2 languages fluently, right? That is which is the subject as well as the predicate, right? Or we can say the whole of records, which is found behind Mount Rushmore, contains copies of historical United States documents, right? In this case, the clause is which is the subject, and the predicate, which is found behind Mount Rushmore. So that is our clause, which is found behind Mount Rushmore. So which means that a clause is a group of words that contains a subject as well as a predicate. It can function as a complete sentence, compound sentence, or a complex sentence. All right. All right. So a phrase, right? So once again, a clause is a group of words that contain subject and a predicate. But now a phrase, right? A phrase is a group of words that functions together within a sentence, but it lacks a subject, a predicate, or it can lack both. So it lacks either subject, lacks either predicate, or both. So a phrase is any group of words and function that functions together in a sentence, but it lacks a subject, or it lacks a subject, a predicate, or it lacks both. For example, right? An example of a phrase. Example of a phrase. We say that we washed the dishes in the sink after dinner, right? So we washed the dishes in the sink after dinner, right? So here they're saying, right, a phrase is any group of words that functions together within a sentence, but it either lacks a subject, a predicate, or both. They say, we washed the dishes in the sink after dinner. We, right? But now it says the phrase does not contain a subject. That the subject is we. All right. So we say we wash the dishes in the sink after dinner, and they say over there they say that the subject does not contain a subject. Then the new physician at the hospital has been working long hours. So the physician at the hospital has been working for long hours. All right. So in this case, we say that the phrase it does not contain a predicate, and that is in the sentence that says the new physician at the hospital has been working late hours. All right, and then it says a phrase it does not contain a predicate. Robert and Emily took detailed notes during the lecture on microbiology. And this phrase, right, it contains neither a subject nor a predicate. All right. So once again, we can say clause is a group of words that contains both subject and a predicate, right? It can function on its own as a simple sentence, compound sentence, or complex sentence. All right. So when it comes to a phrase as well as a clause, right, we say that a clause is more but easier, right? Because a clause it contains both subject and a predicate, right? And it can function as on its own as a simple subject, either a compound subject or complex subject, right? Or sentence. But now when it comes to a phrase, right, it is any group of words that functions together within a sentence, but it lacks a subject. All right. If we look at this sentence, right, it says, is the group of words in bold a phrase or is it a clause? It says, Mickey's suitcase was too large to fit in the overhead bin. So, unfortunately, she had to check it. So now we need to say, is the sentence, is it a clause or is the sentence a phrase? Right? Remember we said a clause is a group of words and it contains a subject as well as a predicate. It can stand on its own as a simple sentence, compound sentence, or complex sentence. All right. So Mickey's suitcase was too large to fit in the overhead bin. So we can say that this is a clause, right? Because remember, we said a clause, it's a group of words can stand on its own because it has both a subject as well as a predicate, right? All right. right. So we can say that is a phrase in bold, which is Mickey's suitcase was too large to fit in the overhead bin. All right, so that's a clause as both a subject and, which is Mickey's suitcase, and a predicate, which is was too large to fit in the overhead bin. We now need to look at the next sentence, right? That is in bold. We need to say if it's a phrase or if it's a clause. Inspirational leader Mohandas Gandhi, which is also known as Mahatma Gandhi, commonly known, oh, there we have that word. So, inspirational leader Mohandas Gandhi, commonly known as Mahatma Gandhi, directed India's fight to independence against British rule. All right. So in this case, when we say inspirational leader Mohandas Gandhi, right? Here we can say that it's a phrase, right? So we need to say if it's a phrase or clause, but in this case, we can say it's a phrase, right? It does not have a subject and it does not have a verb. Following the disastrous invasion of Russia, French military leader and Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte was forced to abdicate and went into exile on the island of Elba. All right, so we can say that, exile on the island of Alba, and I feel like that is a phrase. That's not a clause. Because remember, a clause we said it contains a subject and a verb, right? Can either stand as a simple sentence, compound sentence, or as a complex sentence. In this case, it is basically a phrase. It lacks a subject and a verb, right? All right, let's go to our test. If we go to our test, right, where we're going to answer, is it a phrase or is it a clause? It says, inspirational leader Mohandas Gandhi, commonly known as Mahatma Gandhi, directed India's fight for independence against British rule. We need to say if that is a phrase or if it's a clause. All right, and if we were to say if it's a phrase or clause, and then we will say this is a phrase, right? It lacks either a subject as well as a predicate. Humans are classified as omnivores because they generally consume both plants and animals, although some people are vegetarians or vegans. So humans are classified as omnivores, so we can say it's a phrase. Ah, it's a clause. Wow. Okay. So it's a clause, right? Haley has all the qualifications listed for the accountant position at the tax firm, right? So at the tax firm, is that a phrase? Is that a clause? We need to say if it's a phrase or if it's a clause, right? And we can say that it is a phrase. It lacks a subject as well as a predicate. Is the group of words in bold either a phrase or a clause, right? It says, by refusing to surrender her seat to a white passenger, African American activist Rosa Parks inspired a boycott of city buses in Montgomery, Alabama, and helped strengthen the civil rights movement. So, African American activist Rosa Parks. All right, and we can say that that is a phrase. All right, although glaciers a, a copy oh, occupy, sorry, although glaciers occupy only about 10% of the Earth's land surface, they contain about 75% of fresh water. Glaciers. Is this a phrase or is this a clause? We need to say if it's a phrase or if it's a clause, right? And in this case, we can say it is a clause. All right, let's do one more. The appliance store policy allows returns for 30 days. However, refunds require a receipt. So the appliance store allows policy allows returns for 30 days. However, refunds require a receipt. We need to say if it's a phrase or we need to say if it's a clause. So allows returns for 30 days. So we can say that it is a phrase, right? Following a disastrous invasion of Russia, French military leader and Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte was forced to abdicate and went into exile on the island of Elba. So on the island of Elba, we need to say if that is a phrase or if it's a clause. All right, so we're saying that is a phrase. Now we're going to identify prepositional phrases, right? Prepositional phrases. So in this oh no, let's go down. It says an introductory phrase or a prepositional phrase or preposition, sorry, comes before a noun or pronoun, and it is called the object of a preposition, right? And it connects it to the rest of the sentence. A prepositional phrase is a phrase that begins with a preposition and it ends with the object of the preposition and includes all the objects modifiers in between. All right. So if we look at an example of a preposition, right, it says steam rose steadily from the enormous geyser. Steam rose steadily from the enormous geyser, right? Which means that the preposition from connects, so the preposition from, it connects the object geyser to the rest of the sentence. So we also say that another example is Jonah's article from Alaskan oil drilling was incredibly written well. So Jonah's article about Alaskan oil drilling was incredibly written well. And in this case, the preposition about, there it says Jonah's article about. So about connects the object, which is oil drilling, to the rest of the sentence. All right. So in this case, we can say we remember the preposition, prepo- remember the prepositions, they introduce nouns, they introduce pronouns or noun phrases, right? They do not introduce indefinite or infinite phrases or adverbial clauses. All right. So we said we must remember that prepositions introduce nouns, pronouns, and noun phrases, and they do not just introduce infinite phrases or adverbial phrases. So they do not introduce infinite phrases or adverbial clauses. Example, after the show, the dancers greeted their fans. So after the show, the dancers greeted their fans. And in this case, after is our preposition. It connects the object to the rest of the sentence. After the show ended, the dancers greeted their fans, and in this case, after is again the conjunction, right? And it also introduces an adverbial clause. All right. So we said with a preposition, right? Prepositions, they come before a noun or it comes before a pronoun, right? Before a pronoun or before a noun. And that is called the object of preposition. And it connects to the rest of the sentence. A preposition phrase is a phrase that begins with a preposition into the object of the preposition. All right. So now we're going to our test where we're going to identify prepositional phrase by selecting the prepositional phrase. In this introductory harmonica class, you will learn useful breathing techniques. Previous experience is not required. We need to select the prepositional phrase. Is it in this introductory harmonica idea or breathing techniques? So in this introductory harmonica class, you will learn useful breathing tips or techniques. So we need to select the prepositional phrase. Is it in this harmonica class or breathing techniques? Right? So there we have the first one, which is in the harmonica class. Many people presume that Kansas is the flattest state of the nation, but Florida is actually flatter. So now we need to say is that many people presume or in the nation. All right. So if we choose the prepositional phrase, so it's in the nation, not many people. So it's in the nation. Before you click send, reread all the emails for spelling and grammatical errors and make sure your thoughts are clearly stated or stated clearly. So we need to select the prepositional phrase, right? Is it for spelling and grammatical errors or that we need to reread all the emails? So we're going to say for spelling and grammatical errors. That is our prepositional phrase, right? We need to select the two prepositional phrases. Two prepositional phrases. Brian Berg, who has a design degree from Harvard University, is a card stacker. Berg travels the world making large, complex structures strictly from playing cards. no glue, tape, or tricks involved. We need to select the two prepositional phrases. Is it a Harvard University and design degree or Harvard University and from playing cards? So we need to select the prepositional phrase. All right. And if we select our prepositional phrase, especially that second one, from playing cards, but Harvard University and from playing cards, right? So we're going to identify also prepositional phrases in the second set, right? And we see the prepositional phrase, it comes before a noun or it comes before a pronoun, and we call that the object of the preposition. So preposition, it comes before a noun or a pronoun, and we call that the object of preposition. And it connects to the rest of the sentence. A prepositional phrase is a phrase that begins with a preposition and it ends with an object of the preposition and includes all the object modifiers in between. Right? So this is basically the second set of the prepositional phrases or prepositions. And we say the preposition comes before a noun or a pronoun, which we call which we call an object of preposition, and it connects it to the rest of the sentence. It begins with a preposition and it ends with the object of the prepositions. The preposition, right, also it connects the objects, right, to the rest of the sentence. Remember that prepositions, they introduce nouns, they introduce pronouns, or they introduce noun phrases. All right. And in this case, where it says many people presume that Kansas is the flattest state in the nation, but Florida is actually flatter. So this is in the nation, which is our prepositional phrase. All right. So select the one prepositional phrase. It says many people presume that Kansas is the flattest state in the nation, but Florida is actually flatter. So if we were to select the prepositional phrase, the first option is it in the nation or is it actually flatter? We need to select the prepositional phrase. So if we look at the or we select the prepositional phrase, then we will say it is in the nation. Right? So in the nation is our prepositional phrase. We need to select two prepositional phrases. Oh, Dia de los Muertos. Oh, Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, is a holiday that is celebrated widely across Latin America. Oh, wow. Do we say of the dead and across Latin America or Latin America and holiday? We need to select the two prepositional phrases. de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, is a holiday that is celebrated widely across Latin America. I think it's this one, I'm not sure. It's the first one actually. So it's the first one. That is my mistake. All right, we need to select the two prepositional phrases, right? The last one. Shona's thoughtful first person essay about her maternal grandparents deserves an honorable mention in the personal narrative competition. We need to select the two prepositional phrases within this sentences. Is it first person and maternal grandparents, or maternal grandparents and in the personal narrative competition? All right, and if we select the prepositional phrase, not even sure. All right, it's maternal grandparents and the first person narrative competition. All right, so that is the end of our lesson on phrases and clauses. Thank you very much for joining the class, and I really hope you are going to have a good evening further. Goodbye.